And we are live. Good morning, everyone. I am really excited today to have one of my favorite people in the world, Tanel. G'day, Tanel. Good to have you along.
Hey, thank you, Sarah, for inviting me on.
As many people know who are following me at the moment, I have been doing a week-long workshop supporting parents to have to become aware of why comfortable conversations about body, puberty, and sex are so important. And I know you have personal experience about this. So thank you for agreeing to come on and share your experience. So just before, just so everyone knows, Tanel is a dad of 2 kids. He has a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. He's a parent coach, focusing on helping parents eliminate power struggles. Don't we all want to be able to do that at home by implementing peaceful parenting approaches? So Tanel, you're talking to me today because we have worked together, and you have specifically joined the Sensitive Conversations Made Easier program. So before we go into Sensitive Conversations Made Easy, can you tell me a little bit about why parenting deserves our attention, and why it needs us to learn skills that we might not have had growing up?
Yeah, I think it's just about it's being conscious of our actions and being deliberate about the strategies or approaches we use, and not just, which is the opposite of functioning on autopilot. Because, well, I live in Estonia, so when I was born, it was Soviet Union. I still remember the Soviet Union collapsing, but I don't have a lot of memories about it. I remember standing in lines, using coupons because everything was in deficit, and so on. So when my parents, or the parents of my generation, were parented, it was a lot different environment. It was a lot less information about conscious parenting, and it's nothing to diss our. I'm not saying this to diss our parents. They did the best they could do in the environment, and just in the time they were bringing us up. So what I encourage parents to do is do the same, not do exactly the same what our parents did, but do our best in the society and in the time that we are raising our kids. Because I mean, 1980s and 1990s are very much different than 2020 today. So if I keep doing the same thing that it was done with me or to me, then I don't think it serves our kids. So we need to be conscious not to put these blinders on and just take the baton from previous generations and giving the same baton to our kids, just being more conscious about the experience that we give to our kids growing up.
What I love about that sort of description of how you've grown up, the country you've grown up is that I see huge parallels with other countries as well. So Estonia had a particular political environment when you were growing up and your parents were growing up. In Ireland, where I live, we have had a history of influence of the church, and how that has shaped parenting, and specifically, I guess, in my parenting approaches to sexuality and open, relaxed conversations with children about their body and how they are developing and growing up. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience of growing up and the conversations you might have had or might not have had with your parents about puberty and bodies and all those things?
Well, my parents separated when me and my twin brother, we were about 5 or 6 years old, pretty much the same age as my daughter is right now. And so my father still remained in the picture, but I didn't really have a close emotional bond with my father, nor my stepdad. And I do remember when we were early teens, I'm assuming he had the same conversation with my twin brother as well, but it was me and my dad one on one. Interestingly enough, we were in a car. We were driving
Yeah.
somewhere, and he just started talking about the bodies. Like I was like, I think 11 or 12 or maybe 10, the youngest. And so he started. It was very uncomfortable. So he started
Mm.
talking about, like how boys have different body parts and girls have different body parts. Like, well, no, as Sherlock, as sure, I've already noticed that I'm 11 years old, so I know that. So it was very inconvenient for both of us,
Mm.
looking back now, and I don't remember coming away from this conversation as a early teenager with more valuable or new information,
Mm.
and it just the sense of it, or just the energy around it was just. I would never want to do that again.
Yeah.
As a young boy, as a young maybe a young man, maybe I would say more as a young boy.
Yeah. And do you know what? I hear so, like, almost universally, the parents that come into my world have a similar experience to what you're describing, that sort of having not much information or not many conversations, all of a sudden having this sit down, talk about things that are just incredibly awkward, and you're almost a teenager and you're feeling weird about your body anyway. And then your parent comes out and starts using these words, and it's like, oh, just please stop.
Yeah, and if I go back to this teenage self, and it's just life is very difficult, anyways. I
Yeah.
mean, you're trying to find your place in a social group, and then in a gym class, you see like some other friends. They've already puberty has already started. I mean, they have hair and there's certain body parts, and you don't. And it's like you start worrying about all these things, and just you don't really. I mean, I don't care if boys and girls have different body parts. I have a lot bigger fish to fry. I mean, why don't I have hair down there and some of my friends have? It's like it's it's difficult. I mean, teenage mind is very peculiar mind. So
So
maybe it's
you
too much
are,
information. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, this is perfect. Like, let's talk about pubic hair and all the things. Um, you have, you're parenting a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old now. And so they are far from 11, 12 puberty, but you chose to join Sensitive Conversations Made Easier a few months ago. Tell me, what was going through your mind leading up to that decision to do this course?
Well, me and my wife, we try to be as conscious about our parenting efforts as we can. Needless to say, we cannot be perfect, and we don't strive to be perfect, but we just try to be the best versions of ourselves. And we both value very highly having very solid bonds and relationships with both of our kids. We have one son and one daughter. And interestingly, I mean, I know it's young right now. Our 5-year-old is more oriented towards me, and that's our daughter. And our son, who's younger, he's more oriented towards my wife. So I don't I don't know much about girls growing up. I mean, I don't know what's the experience like and so on. And I never will. Doesn't matter if I take your course or somebody else's course and so on. But it's just, I want to be more confident just talking about these things. I don't need to have all the answers, but it's just feeling confident around these topics and helping my young daughter and also my son trust her own body and respect his or her body. And just another thing is, when I was talking about just the environment where I grew up, when I grew up, I would say that's more relevant, is very much different than 2020 today. And I'd like to think of myself as a fairly inclusive person. I don't have a lot of prejudice, whatever the word is in English. I'm not native speaker. But it just talking about this sexual inclusivity and the gender inclusivity, it's got so complicated today. I don't even know what all the letters mean in LGBTIA, whatever, plus all the other letters are in this spectrum. It's just I don't even know what these mean, and I don't know how to orient in this environment. And naturally, our kids grow up. They will meet these people. Some of these people may become their friends, maybe their best friends, maybe even their partners. But fortunately, that's many years ago. But they may have friends that parents or relatives are, or identify themselves differently than me and my friends when we grew up identified ourselves. So just want to be comfortable or more comfortable or more confident talking about these things when our kids start asking questions. Because even if they watch now the different movies or cartoons, these things slowly start coming up, whether you agree with it or not. Our kids will be exposed to these topics earlier and earlier compared to us and maybe even teenagers of today.
I love what you're describing there. It's sort of like staying relevant to your children and our children, all of us. We're all parenting in this different world now. So you're describing this, being able to stay relevant to children who are growing up in a brave new world where all types of diversity are becoming more front and center, I guess. And there is a lot more opportunity to accept ourselves and the children growing up as learning to be who they are, I guess, and being able to stand up and say, okay, I'm different to you and you're different to Johnny, and we are all deserving of love and respect. Can you tell me a little bit more about this idea of being able to stay in connection with your child as they're growing up? What do you want to give your child or in your children, I guess, that you didn't have in this respect?
Well, when we talk about this, like sex topics, I mean, this is not the end all be all in our parenting. It's not the in front face or in forefront, just in all of our daily lives, at least in our home, having two younger kids. But this is certainly a part of it. We just like to keep very open environment in our family, or environment of trust, mutual respect, and just this kind of closeness that we can always lean on each other when we have stressful times, when we have face hardships or challenges in our lives, or when we're confused or whatever it is. So it's just like to very consciously create this very open environment when we can be ourselves. For example, just in our home, in our family, all emotions are accepted and even welcomed. You can be angry. Our 5-year-old or 3-year-old, they can be angry, but of course we need to set some boundaries for behavior. I can allow an angry child to act or behave in destructive ways that is destructive towards our family, our relationship, or our I don't know, possessions, or just our things, and so on. So we'd like to keep it this way as the kids grow up, so they can always come to us when they face challenges, when they don't know what's going on, or when they have questions, whether it is about gender or sex or drugs or issues with their potential partners or best friends, or any other topics that we can't even think of today in 2020, and they become teenagers in 5 or 6, 7 years. So we just like to keep this very open environment and relationships that are based on mutual respect and trust.
And what I'm really taking away from that is this idea that there are sort of foundational skills about acceptance and building openness and connection with your children that you see influencing all different areas of their lives. It's not just relationships. It's not about their body and acceptance of that. It's not about just what partners or partner they may choose as they're getting older, but it's even more far-reaching in terms of substance abuse and other challenges and pressures that are coming their way when they're older.
Yes, and I mean, this is very. It's like it's a very soft term, and it's harder maybe to grasp. But what I'd like to strive towards is to love my kids, but also my wife unconditionally. Just love them and accept them for who they are, not on what they did for me recently or lately, just or how they behaved today. And I tell this to my kids, and I try to. I try to, I guess, I don't know what the word is, emulate, or it's just I try to behave in this way as well, that my behavior expresses this philosophy is just doesn't matter what you do. I love you for who you are. I may not accept your behavior or your choices or your reactions to certain things, but I love you the same regardless. If you're a quote unquote a good child, or if you're a bad child, or basically if you behaved in a certain way, I love you the same. You cannot do anything to make me love you less, and you cannot do anything to make me love more than I already do, because I already love you to the maximum ability that I can. So that's what I try to express in my parenting.
My heart feels so warm, Tanel, hearing you say that. It's almost like a balm to the little Sarah of 6 years old who didn't feel like she was good enough in her family. Can I just go on, because I'm now remembering stories that we heard, a lot of them in Ireland. So in Ireland, a few years ago, we had a referendum to allow people of all genders to marry each other. And up until that point, there was a man and a woman could get married. But if you loved someone that was the same gender as you, then you didn't have that option. And what happened during that referendum was much like adult people in their 40s and 50s finally feeling like they were able to go to their parents and say, look, we've never had this conversation, but I'm a gay man, or, my friend who I've been living with, that's actually my long-term partner in life, and she's a woman and I'm a woman. And so there were stories of like that coming out all the time. And it reminds me now what you're talking about when you're talking about, I love you no matter what. You are precious to me beyond measure. And how for some parents there is some work to do, I suppose, on dismantling the awful, negative, sort of sad assumptions that children who grow up to be different in the way they are in relationships, maybe they're not as deserving of love and acceptance. Can you talk a bit about that? Because no parent would choose to, push away their child and tell them they're not good enough. So do you have any comment on that?
Well, I think just in the work that I do, and I think it carries over to this as well, it's just for some reason, we've got the idea from previous generations that children are something to control, and that we have to control and make our kids to be, I don't know, whether it's a straight person or whether it's successful or obedient or whatever it is. For some reason, we want to make our kids and not let them grow and flourish. And I don't really believe in this control. I mean, I may come across that our kids just do whatever they want, but we do have certain limits, and rules and boundaries have a very important place in our home and in our family. But I just let kids just be themselves and grow into whatever they need to be growing into. I think that's kind of how I see this. It's just for some reason we want to control our kids, and I don't think that's the best way to go about it.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Particularly, it means a lot coming from someone who supports, I know you support thousands of parents in Estonia. So I'm super grateful. Is there anything you would like to add to finish up to parents who are thinking about sort of upskilling or taking a course that is going to help them talk about sensitive stuff to do with bodies and sex?
I think it's very daunting endeavor to go on because if you've ever experienced the very same inconvenient or uncomfortable conversations around these things when you were a young child or a teenager, then it may feel very daunting in a way that even if I thought about joining the group the last time around, it's it's like now that I joined, then I have to make this a huge priority and part in my life. It's like, and it feels daunting because now I have to do everything the right way. Whereas I would encourage people to, if they're thinking about joining and they want to, and they feel it's the right thing, is just take it easy and just go step by step. You don't have to, in certain number of weeks that the program lasts or goes on, you just have to figure out everything in today's situation when your kids are in certain age, and then what you're going to do in 5 years from now. But it just gives you more resources and more confidence around these topics, and you can just go about learning these things and implementing these things as the right time comes around.
Yeah, thank you. And that reminds me to, I suppose, remind everyone that, it's possible to join Sensitive Conversations Made Easier. And if it doesn't work out for you in the first 2 weeks, it's no problem. That's just, we make it easy for you to say, actually, no, this is not right for me. As well as you can join this program and take as much time as you need. Everything is recorded. It's all there for you whenever you need it. There's so much support. It's not like needing to learn, and you're on your own. It's more about being able to sort of delve into these things that feel a bit sticky and awkward and unsure in this super safe environment. There's, it's too hard to expect ourselves to unpick all the years of developing like stereotypes and sort of thoughts and feelings around this stuff, and it's
to and just progress as relevant for us right now, but we have somewhere to go back to. And even if we end up not going back to it, at least somewhere in our back of our heads we have this knowledge that, hey, well, maybe we should think about this, or maybe that's the way we should approach these challenges that we're facing right now.
Thanks for that, Tanel. So if anyone's been watching this and want to just investigate your work a little bit more, how would they do that?
Well, there's not much that I put out in English. I'm very much focused on in my native Estonia and our Estonian parents and community of parents. So unless they're willing to start learning Estonian, then they can follow me on Facebook or on Instagram, but most of the content that I put out is in Estonian.
So if you are fluent in Estonian or would like to learn Estonian, then and you're interested in parenting and parenting in a positive way, Tanel is your person. So Tanel, thank you so much. You're very good to come on and share your experience and the stories of your life, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for what you do and who you are.
You're so welcome. Take care. Bye.
Bye.